Today on Locked On Rockies, a series split. Wins are nice, but not necessarily a solid weekend of baseball for the Colorado Rockies. And the Cardinals are coming to town. That's our annual harsh reminder of some of the realities of the Rockies that we saw this weekend as well. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 10th day of April in the year 2023. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here, is talk about the Colorado Rockies each and every day on the Locked On Podcast Network, here on the Locked On Rockies podcast as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Baseball GM. If you've ever dreamed of becoming an MLB GM and managing your own baseball franchise, this game's for you. Download the game. Just visit ultimatebaseballgm.com or look it up on the App Store. Our listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game. Folks, I am your Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk. Third season here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. And, man, I am sick of the Rockies not playing well against the Nationals. And, I am trying to, series splits are good. The Rockies had, a couple of big moments. Jerkson Profar, hello, great defense, and his first home run. If you had on your bingo card, Jerkson Profar hits a home run for the Colorado Rockies at Coors Field before Chris Bryant does, congratulations, you hit big. You hit big time for sure. The Rockies were bailed out by the Nationals. In fact, the Rockies potentially could have lost just about every game. I mean, there really wasn't a moment where the Rockies dominated outside of Kyle Freeland. I mean, Kyle Freeland was the reason why, and the Rockies bullpen was the reason why the Rockies won that game. I mean, to have 9 hits against the Nationals and to come up blank other than one inning against a bad Nationals team with and the Rockies were getting hits. I mean, when you look at the Rockies, especially when you look at the top of the lineup, Profar with the hit, Chris Bryant with 2. I know one of them was the RBI. But then nothing from Blackmon, nothing from Crone, a hit from McMahon, a hit from Diaz, and 3 hits from Eilerys Montero, and a hit from Tovar. That has to equal more than one run. That has to equal one more run. And, the Rockies offense does come alive and bails them out yesterday. In a very exciting conclusion and end of that game. The Rockies really did put it together, and they just fall 1 run short of a massive rally in the bottom of the 9th. But here's the deal. If you want to prove that you are not a basement dweller team, the Nationals have to come into Coors Field and have a miserable time. And not the Rockies bailed out from the sun, poor defense, the pitch. The pitching this weekend, outside of Kyle Freeland. I mean, the Rockies front office owes a tremendous explanation as to why this is the rotation that they feel confident in. Jose Urena could be completely cooked. I mean, it's the beginning of the season, sure, but his performance has been unbelievable. And I tweeted out John Gray's stat line during the start, which is, spoiler alert, much better. I don't have it up in front of me. That's not really where I'm trying to go down. 2.2 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, and a strikeout, followed by Ty Block giving up 5 hits and 2 runs. 2 hits, Jake Bird, and 2 hits and a walk from Jake Bird. Denilson Lamet gives up the 2 earned runs. I mean, that's just sloppy. That's a bad team. That's a bad team that the Rockies gave up 19 hits to. 19. Against a team that had won 1 ball game at that point in the year. I mean, that is unacceptable. And then to go out there again and throw the game away. I mean, Austin Gomber, 4.2, 5 earned, 7 hits, 5 strikeouts. I mean, Austin Gomber can't go more than 3 innings, it seems like. Ryan Feltner, an all right start yesterday. Not that bad. He's younger, I'll give that. But the real big issue that I have especially is why? Why are you confident? What has given you the confidence? Why can you sit there and say that this is the rotation when you could have had a different rotation? And yes, Senza's on the way. But what does that truly mean? What does that change? You decided to go get Urania. The Rockies have decided to do. This is where your inactivity at the trade deadline is proving. There is no promising pitcher to come up. There is no really excitement within the starting rotation. And outside of German Marquez and Kyle Freeland, the Rockies rotation is laughable right now. Austin Gomber and Jose Urena are proving that they are most likely bullpen arms. Ryan Feltner, it looks like a young guy. That puts the Rockies at a tremendous disadvantage, and then you're being reminded of it. The annual reminder, when you watch Austin Gomber be not elite, not incredible, not great, the reminder is coming back to Coors Field. The conversation will never end. We can never stop bringing up the trade because once again, the Rockies are not in a better position. This is not how you make the moves. This is the issue with the Rockies and the way they handle building up their team. The draft and develop approach didn't work. There is no exciting pitching prospect. And really, for the Rockies to sit and say and talk competitive and believe competitive, and this is the rotation, I didn't believe that it was going to be this bad, but the warning signs about this Rockies rotation are blaring right now. Absolutely blaring. The Washington Nationals came to Coors Field and scored 23 runs, scoring 10 runs after being shut out. The drastic difference that a team has going from Kyle Freeland to Jose Urena is huge. Just look at the game. Look at the games that have followed the Kyle Freeland starts. I mean, it's 8 runs scored by the Padres here against Jose Urena. 2.1 innings, 4 earned, 4 walks, 5 hits. I mean, that is the drop-off from 2 wins in a row to start the season against the Padres, both with your starters having great starts. And then you go on to lose 4 straight games. This is going to be an issue that's going to come back up again and again. There are massive issues with this Rockies rotation. I could not believe we watched 8 straight balls be thrown from the bullpen either. That is a huge, huge worry for the Rockies. Can they bounce back? Are we confident in it? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. My thoughts are clouded after this series, and I want to dive more into that and explain why and get some reaction from the weekend series against the Nationals from the live chat here. Let's do that in segment number 2. But let's talk about the title sponsor of today's episode, Ultimate Pro Baseball GM. Folks, you can call the shots. We're talking about the Rockies and their moves, how they're managing their free agents, how they manage the trade deadline, how they manage the farm system. You can put your knowledge, your skills to the test with Pro Baseball GM. If you've had those same thoughts and you've fantasized about managing your own franchise, go and download Pro Baseball GM. You are going to have to hire the right coaches and staffs. Yeah, that's going to include managing those team finances. You're going to have to scout and draft your players. You're going to have to deal with their personalities. You're going to have to deal with injuries, and you're going to have to navigate your franchise through free agency and all the ups and downs of a season. All this in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free and playable offline, so you can take it wherever you want to go. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. Locked On Rockies listeners get a 100% free bonus to their franchise when using the promo Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. Download the game. Just visit probaseballgm.com. You can also scan the code you see on your screen right here or look it up on the App Store. That's probaseballgm.com. And if you use that promo code Locked On, you're going to get that 100% free boost. Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. We're also brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is your place where you go where maybe you forgot about your subscriptions and maybe you were thinking, when did I sign up for that thing? Am I still signed up for that? Well, guess what? They're going to help you out here at Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about, and chances are you are one of them. All you got to do when you check out our friends at Rocket Money is they're going to quickly, easy find it for you. And it's all going to be in one spot. And it's all, if you don't want to pay for that subscription, it's going to show it, cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. Also, they have saved the average person up to $720 a year. So stop throwing away your money, cancel your unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb, rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. For your second listen of the day, why don't you go check out the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast or the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Buffs, Nuggets, all sorts of wonderful Colorado coverage here. Let's see here. Brendan Kramer says, what a disappointing weekend. When we struggle that hard against Washington, we are in a lot of trouble. They are supposed to be one of the few teams we are better than, and that may not be the case. I don't know if I'm underestimating Washington. I don't really think I am. I think the Rockies played down to their opponent. The Rockies played sloppy defense. The Rockies had multiple opportunities to jump far ahead in all of those games. And instead, they played down to the level of the Washington Nationals. Luxay says, even Profar said we should have had that game on Saturday. The Rockies really should have had all the games. And one thing to point out here from Soyboy2112, Diaz was a triple away from the cycle. That came out of nowhere. What a day for him. I was giving him a little bit of a flack there about his swing and something like that. And then he just goes and has a day at the dish. Man, if Elias Diaz could just do that consistently, it doesn't have to be 3 hits triple away from the cycle, but just consistent offense from Elias Diaz would be wonderful because that he's got a good throwing arm. He's a decent catcher, but man, oh man, he can just go on absolute cold streaks, just like we're seeing. I mean, CJ Cron went from red hot to ice cold, the classic Cron experience there with CJ Cron, but we also heard about his illness there, that there might be an illness floating, or there could be more Rockies impacted there, sure. But CJ Cron wasn't feeling well, and that certainly would have an impact. But we just saw. It's crazy that this team can do just these flashes. It's just like of greatness, right? But then the reality sets in, and they just don't put it together. They just miss out on an unbelievable. It was just a weekend of missed opportunities. It certainly was something that the Rockies could have been in the driver's seat all weekend, but instead it's 8 balls in a row. It's 3 balks on your pitch comm. It's crazy. It's sloppy baseball here. Brendan Kramer says, bring up Lambert and give him some innings to see what we have. Forget about Urania. I mean, it's going to be close. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do with Jose Urania here soon if this continues. He's got to straighten something out. But how many more starts do you give him? And you signed him to the deal. I mean, you're committed there. I mean, do you just bite it? Do you just eat it? The money potentially? I guess it's still too early to completely give up, and he might still be an interesting bullpen option, but Urania's got to make an adjustment. I mean, he's got to do something different. I don't know what that looks like on the level. I mean, he is just the walking, the just badly missing, the just handing runs, handing things over from the Rockies is just ridiculous. It was just. There was no sense that the Rockies could dominate at any point in this series. You thought that they could. The Rockies have just yet to kind of recreate that first game of the season feeling. And I don't know what they're going to have to prove it to me that they can. It's a prime opportunity to do so. This is a Cardinals team that has stumbled out the gate, but this is a Cardinals team that's looking to come into Colorado and have things be a lot better. And turn the ship around and get offense going. The Rockies need to be the one that does that instead. The Rockies need to be the one that carries the momentum and captures the momentum and taking it on their road, their trip to Seattle. That has to. I mean, you can feel a little bit better about how the series against the Nationals go if you take 2 or 3 from St. Louis. But if you play the way that you played against Washington, you're not going to get 2 out of 3 against St. Louis. You're going to get swept. Washington gave the Rockies ample opportunities and were handed, just like the Rockies handed over plenty of opportunities to the Nationals. The Nationals certainly returned the favor with the Rockies, and that's not going to happen with teams like St. Louis. It's not going to happen with teams like Seattle. These teams are going to beat you, and they're going to beat you badly. The Rockies need to clutch up. The Rockies need to show us a lot more. The Rockies are capable of more. But the question is, when are they going to demonstrate that? When are they going to put it together? When are they not going to make us wait until the last part of the game and instead keep leaving runners in scoring position in the early parts of the game? Jump out to the early lead. Make an adjustment. Holy smokes. Strikeouts, take a walk, do something different. But the Rockies come out and they strike out, they're key strikeouts in massive situations. There was just nothing that the Rockies did this weekend outside of the big innings. And Kyle Freeland, that makes me sit here and feel confident about this, about where this team is at right now after that series. And it's not the weekend that I was hoping to see from the Rockies. But the good news for the Rockies is that the rotation is flipped. The Cardinals are 3-6. There's a chance here. They really need if their 2 starters can dominate, especially a Cardinals offense that's struggling a little bit, Rockies are going to be great, or hopefully, or can be great. I guess that's they can be good, and they can steal this series away from the Cardinals because the Cardinals are certainly thinking that they can come in and take this one from Colorado. I'll answer this question here from Lux Ace, and I will give a little bit of the classic speech before the Cardinals series that we always have to talk about here. I mean, maybe not always. Some of you probably won't want me to talk about it, but I'm gonna. Let's do that coming up in segment number 3. But before we do that, our new sponsor, So Rare, is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advanced, and that means you're going to get increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competitions and rewards. MLB game weeks happen twice weekly and span a 3 to 4 day cycle. At the end of game weeks, so MLB managers who rank near or at the top of the leaderboards win a variety of rewards, which includes So Rare scarcity cards, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, and VIP experiences like meeting MLB stars. Prizes do vary depending on the competition. Head to sorare.com/lockedon. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your free team of players and set your lineup. Start competing today. Win epic rewards. Again, that's So Rare, SORARE.com/lockedon to start playing today. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, brought to you by me, Paul Holden, here on the Locked On Rockies podcast network. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. This weekend series left a nasty taste in my mouth, and one of the things that was on full display outside of Elehuris Montero has played well, and I don't think Montero is the one is the focus here. But I'll dive before I dive too far into my inevitable Nolan Arenado rant. Let me answer this question. Aren't you on the Marquez train more than Freeland? I'm on both of the trains here. I'm more leaning towards Kyle Freeland's consistency than German Marquez's, but I believe both of them are capable of winning the Rockies games and being the reason why the Rockies win close games outside of the other three. I think both of them are pretty like neck and neck for what they do for the Rockies right now. But the thing that always is a reminder, and what this weekend shows you, and what the stuff that where the Rockies are at right now, and the return of Nolan Arenado reminds you that the plan isn't working. Maybe it will. And maybe it can change. But you know what I know would work, would have worked, and would have helped is the Rockies keeping a bunch of players that they already had, including their third baseman. And instead of going after and doing the moves that they made, building up and building around a solid foundation that they had already created. The Rockies are trying to recreate that. And what are they missing? They're missing the fact that they had a generational talent at third base that helped the Rockies in almost every single situation. You once again ask yourself, as a Rockies fan, as the Cardinals come into town yet again, would you make the trade again? I just don't think the results, the fact that how Bridich left the Rockies, where the Rockies have gone, the decisions the Rockies have made after would make you say yes, would make me say yes. And I'm going to come clean again. I am never getting over this trade. There is no situation, unless Elehuris Montero becomes a better overall player than Nolan Arenado, I will never get over this trade. It's a massive fumble by the Rockies organization, and it set the tone for 3 more seasons of fumbling. Lackluster trades, lackluster confidence in the organization, interim GM, up in the air, questionable signings, and money spent. Why spend money there? Nolan Arenado is playing better than Chris Bryant. Nolan Arenado has played more baseball than Chris Bryant. The Colorado Rockies are still paying Nolan Arenado to play baseball for another team. I want to be confident and believe and have hope for the future of the Rockies. But until this front office seriously commits to making this team what it needs to be, this will hurt and sting forever. It does not matter how many years will pass. I am coming to terms with this. I am still angry about the Nolan Arenado trade. I will continue to be angry about the Nolan Arenado trade because it doesn't make sense. And it adds on to a list of other things that doesn't make sense. Because I am not dumb. The Rockies are not in a better spot than they are with or when they had Nolan. They are not in a better spot than they could have been without Nolan. It has been mishandled. The post Arenado era has to improve this series. Change the narrative this series. Change the narrative of the early season. Get back to 500. 2 wins get you 1 game away from 500. If you end up with the sweep somehow, you get your club back to 500. It is time for these players to show us that this is their team and this is the future of the Rockies so we can stop talking about it. Because for me, it's hard for me to forget when I watch Austin Gomber not go past the 5th inning in both starts. And when the Rockies trade away a piece of the Nolan Arenado or release a piece of the Nolan Arenado trade. And when I see milestones and success for the other team. That's my soapbox. And that's my thoughts. I am in, especially after this weekend, it is prove it mode for the Rockies. Prove that you can string together winning some series. Prove to us that you can go out and beat some challenging teams on the road. Win some series. No splits. Prove it. You got to prove it. Folks, that's going to do it for today's Locked On Rockies podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where we are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and you can also catch the show live here on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show, just like Lux Ace and Brendan Kramer and Soy Boy Word today. We got all sorts of Rockies coverage for you on the Locked On Podcast Network here, so make sure you subscribe. Don't miss out on all the fun. Rockies taking on the Cardinals tonight, 6:40 Mountain Time. German Marquez on the bump for the Colorado Rockies. And folks, now that you made us your first listen of the day, go check out the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast or the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, or Locked On Buffs podcasts, all available for you to check out. And folks, until next time, this has been Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.